Hello, Jim Howard here in Fort Worth, Texas. Today's date, it's July 18th of 2023. It's almost 10:30 a.m. in the morning. I'm going to have to make this fast. All day yesterday I waited for UPS to show up to pick up the Verizon modem to, take back to Verizon. If you don't return it, it's a $300. They want $300 from you, and I definitely want to return it. So I've been listening for them. I don't want to miss them. All day yesterday I waited, kept as quiet as I could so I could hear them if they knocked on the door. For a while I even hung the thing on the outside door so the UPS guy could just come and get it, but sort of frightened somebody might come and walk off with it or something. So it looks like today also I'm going to have to be listening all the time for that. As you can see, I ordered these adapters. It's only $10. Coming tomorrow. I ordered it yesterday. Coming tomorrow because the microphone stand that I got, I don't know, I guess it was missing a part, one of these, because there wasn't one in there to make the hookup. So anyway, I've got the stand over there, and it's, right now I have the microphone right here, right next to the keyboard, or right behind the keyboard. And of course the camera's up there. And I moved, by the way, the Roku TV, the small one, very small, I forget how many inches. I've got it back there, which I think is going to work out better. I'm not sure it's going to work out better for me. I haven't been watching it anyway. I did go through the, let's see, is it Roku? I think it's Roku channels. And there's a whole bunch of stuff there. I couldn't go through it all. It'd take forever. So anyway, that's, I think, the location for that now. I'm getting ready to put a better speaker, behind it. That one you may have seen that's long, and it's back there. I think it's sitting back there behind it right now. I moved a bunch of my tools from in the living room where they've been on the floor, and I had a big drawer that they were in, but that was on the floor too. And anyway, I've got that right now, getting ready to set it up on that black shelf over there for the. It's not going to look too cool, but at least I'll be able to find them and keep them from being accidentally thrown away or something. So everything seems to be going okay with the audio, with the microphone, the Elgato microphone right here. And I should have brought the stand over here. Well, I still can. There it is. Hang on a second. Here is the microphone stand, desktop. And of course, it's really heavy, and it's going to go right over here, I think. And then it'll come up, I'm not going to put it right in front of it because that's not necessary. We've seen how this, works okay at a little bit of a distance. So I'm gonna, so just waiting. Oh, I think I need to, well, I'm gonna tighten this up when I'm trying to be quiet. It's almost 10:30 a.m. I don't want to wake my son up, my grown son, because he'll probably crank up some loud music or something. So right now, waiting for UPS. You know, I called them yesterday to do the pickup. Verizon's not charging anything for me. You know, they sent me a box and the shipping, you know, for free to return it to them. So, and UPS is very, you know, very dependable. At least until they go on strike. I think that's about a month's time. And I've mentioned this before, and I find it hard to believe it. I think that 80% of the stuff delivered in the United States is delivered by UPS, and they're going on strike. And they went on strike before. I forget the details of it, but that was, and this time they're going on strike, and they're showing their support of the writers and people who do, I guess it's a writing for the movies and radio and all that kind of stuff. And then there's another group in there that joined already with them. It looks like we're going to have 3 powerful unions combining. And even if it's 50% or whatever, I mean, even less, if UPS is actually delivering 80% of everything that we get, that strike isn't going to last long. And, you know, unless they go crazy and, you know, say they want, you know, way too much, you know, money and that kind of stuff, which I don't think they will. They're a labor union and they want to work and they want, you know, so. Unions are not popular with a large, you know, number of people here in the United States. I worked hospital security. Well, I was in the United Auto Workers and the Boilermakers Union for years, both of those for years. And but I worked hospital security for 30 years, and hospitals hate unions. They want nothing to do with unions. You know, like I'm working security, it was like, you know, they expected us to, I was actually in sympathy with, you know, the union people, but it's, so I would be, you know, I don't want UPS to go on strike, you know, either. But, so I guess for the rest of the day, I'm going to be, well, until the UPS picks up the Verizon monitor or Verizon router, I guess. What would you call it? Modem. I think that this is going to work better, although this is fine. I think, you know, it's right there. Right, I have my 2 monitors right here, and it's right in the middle there of it, and I can, you know, if I lean forward, I'll be touching the microphone. And this isn't bad, $10 for these adapters. The only problem is I never can find, you know, I've probably got a couple of the right adapters someplace. I don't know if you can't see it, but yeah. Well, I could turn this a little bit over there. See those containers? The top one is my laundry, and then there's 1, 2, 3. There's 4 of those right there, and there's just tons of stuff in there I go through, and I'm not a, organizational freak. Well, in a way, a little bit I am. But I wish I had a better place to put the few tools that I have, and then the things like these, and in trays where I could pull them out and that kind of stuff. So anyway, it looks like I've made it for 10 minutes without my son waking up, and I love trance music though, and what is it, trance, got like 2 or 3 names, and I love it, even when he plays it over there, unless sometimes it's too loud. But it actually makes me get up and start doing stuff. What else what are my projects ahead? I've had this mat on the floor, so that the office chair can slide around on it. And I've had it for a long time, and it's finally started to break down. There's a couple like holes in it or things, and when I'm trying to use this chair, that catches in there. They're fairly inexpensive, so that's on my wish list. Actually, it's not on my wish list. Nobody goes to my wish list anyway. But that's what I need to replace. This office chair will eventually need to be, because I've been replacing them like crazy. I'm 200 pounds now. I've lost some weight. I'm at 200 pounds. And there's several people that mentioned, well, just buy, and I have bought maybe 1 or 2 for myself that I think were expensive, but according, and then my daughter Hillary has bought, I think, 1 or maybe 2 for me. And of course she spent quite a bit of, we were out looking around, and we popped into an office supply store, I think it was. I forget the name of it. And, they have a whole bunch of, and so she bought me one. I think on another occasion, I think she bought me one. Anyway, I better end this before I get interrupted. And, what else? Back over here, you can barely see it. That's my device that monitors my heart all the time. And then once every 3 months, I think it is, it automatically just runs and does a complete dump of all the data from my pacemaker. And then I'm sure a computer probably does, the studying of it, and then I get a report back. Now, if something would happen, well, not if, one of these days something will happen. If there's a problem, because it's monitoring my heart all the time. If there's, this is my second pacemaker, by the way. The first one lasted 10 years, and I think this one's been in for like 2 years or something like that. It's so I've probably got another 8 years to go, maybe. Well, I'm 82. I think this pacemaker will last me. I was working hospital security one time. I know it happened one time at a small hospital, and the volunteer firefighters and paramedics came in from a call they had, and they came in with the person on the gurney and everything, and they told the ER doctor, oh, another save, and I'm not going to mention probably they changed their name by now too. Not going to mention the name of the volunteer fire. Well, they're not a volunteer anymore. They've upgraded. Um, but and I think I've mentioned this before. I think I'm correct. 80 or 85% of fire departments and paramedic groups are in the United States are volunteer. You know, like for the major cities, naturally you have, you know, everything, but in the rural areas, the country area out there, it's, you know, volunteer firemen and you know, paramedics or whatever. And they make do with very little, you know, in resources, and they do, you know, bake sales and everything else to raise money, and then those people are volunteering. Sometimes they get a small amount of money, very small, when they go out on a call. But I mean, it's really remarkable what, you know, what they do and what they, you know. I'd moved, okay, from hospital security at the last hospital, well, at Research Medical Center. They built a hospital right in, right where I lived. I could almost throw a rock and hit it. I had to file a grievance because the guy that was the director of security had did not want me. Nobody else. And well, in the beginning, when they decided they were going to build this hospital, after about a year or so, not this one, but after a year or so, he, and I think because of me, put the word out to, you know, let me know to all the 25, you know, security officers, if you want to go to, you know, Research Belton Hospital when it opens up in about a year's time or whatever. And I thought that was kind of, you know, I knew. And about 6 or 7 guys that worked out there, put in that they wanted to go there to Research Belton Hospital. And several of them were really good security officers. But the director of security, that director of security wasn't any good. I mean, he was, oh, I've raved about him because the things that he did and as prejudiced as he was and whatever. Anyway, so 6 or 7 guys put in that they wanted to go, and of course, I knew there was, you know, a small hospital, and like one of the security officers who was a supervisor and a really nice guy. In fact, he lived right out, not in Belton, but in Raymore, right there. And he was a supervisor and a good one. And he put in that he would like to go there. And then when I was talking to him, of course, when I was talking to him, not at that immediate time, but after, he told me, you know, that the director of security has told him and other people, other security officers, Jim Howard is never going out there, never. And I had to do a grievance, and I eventually got out there. I mean, I got out there right away as soon as they opened it up. And but anyway, the supervisor, he said, you know, he says, yeah, I put in for it, and I'm going to go out there, you know, as long as I get to remain a supervisor. And I said, I don't think they're going to have any supervisors out there. And then I think another, you know, security officer said, well, yeah, I'll go out there, but I want to work the day shift. And okay, yeah. I didn't say anything to him because I thought, well, in fact, somebody else said, what this other guy said, as long as there's 2 security officers on each shift, because where these guys were, and I was working at that time, it was like the worst area in Kansas City, Missouri for crime and shootings and everything else. I was shot at once. I just got off work at 10 p.m. and pulled out of the parking garage and got shot at, hit the car, you know. And but anyway, this guy said, as long as there are 2 security officers on each shift, you know, because you need 2. And I said, man, I said, there'll be 1 on a shift. I said, they're not going to have, you know, not going to have. And I was correct on that, except I thought they'd have around the clock. And they didn't have anybody on the day shift. And I just hated that. I'd worked security in the many years, in the past, and had in a place that I worked where they didn't have security around. It was a part-time job. I worked full-time security, and this was a part-time job, and that was a facility for I can't. What do I say? Instead of retarded. Anyway, it was kids, and they had some problems, and they didn't have security. They had two of us on evenings and midnights, but there was nobody on the day shift. And after that, I said, I'm never working any place where there isn't security around the clock. Well, I ended up, working for 9 years at this hospital that, they built out, that had to do a grievance in order to go out there. And that was not good either. When you don't have security, like when you don't have security around the clock, I'd come in and there'd be a cascade alert, something that was sent to each one of the hospitals when something would happen. Say something happened at Trinity Lutheran Hospital or whatever hospital, and security needed to notify the other hospitals, they would call two hospitals, each hospital, So if something happened, you would call these two hospitals. Each one of those hospitals, when security got the call, they would pass it on. And before long, 30 minutes, an hour, less than an hour, that's before, the software and hardware where you could do something like that, before cell phones and all that kind of stuff. But so, when I went out to this small hospital, there was nobody on the day shift, and I'd come in, and maybe the ER nurse would remember to tell me that there was a cascade alert. It was just, and it sucked. So anyway, that hospital that I was working at, there was no security on the day shift. And two, there was a lot of other things, so there was a switchboard operator, a nice lady who worked, evening shift up until midnight or something. Now, I worked, starting in on 6 p.m. to 6 a.m. or whatever, 2 days a week, and then I worked 2 8-hour shifts or whatever. But this real nice switchboard lady, she was real friendly and all that kind of stuff, and so she didn't think she was a security person, but and one thing she wouldn't realize. I mean, she knew what time I came in, but she'd be making decisions like, remember one time I was also a reserve police officer, and I come in, I think it was a Saturday or Sunday, because I came in at 6 p.m. I come in, and it was tornado-y type weather. And I come in, and then I'm making my rounds as soon as I come in to see what's going on. It was busy. And I go up on the second floor, and there's one of the reserve police officers, a real nice guy. And he'd been a reserve officer for the for the Raymore PD for a long time. And he had his wife with him. I guess they had family or friends or something. And he says, Jim, are we going to go into a tornado warning? Do you know? And yeah, I knew. I was an amateur radio operator, and I was monitoring, the repeater that we used. And anyway, I come in, just came on duty, and I said, I'm not sure, I don't think so. And then right away, the switchboard operator, she paged over the public address system that, we're going into code gray or whatever. And I thought, oh God, I didn't say anything. I thought, that makes me look like an idiot, you know. Here's a guy that I work with, you know, on reserve. I forget what his job was, real job, you know. And I thought, that kind of makes me look really, really stupid. I mean, it happened immediately. And she made, you know, decisions like that because she didn't even realize, oh, okay, it's sick, you know. Same with the ER, you know, nurses. It'd be, one day a guy tried to jump off of a bridge over a highway. He'd have been, you know, and they kept him from jumping off, you know, the police or whatever, and then the ambulance brought him in. And about an hour before I came on duty, so it was like 5 p.m. And a new nurse was just filling in out there for somebody that was off or something in the emergency room. And this guy who tried to jump down on the highway, of course the police left, you know, left him there. And by the way, the local police were really, really good. I helped them out a lot. And they helped me, you know, helped the hospital and me out. Because a lot of times I'd pull in and sometimes they'd all be there, you know. Sometimes they'd only have 3 on duty. And then, so they'd all have to be there. And then I'd show up, oh, you know, okay, Jim, we're turning it over to you. And they would leave, you know, stuff like that. But anyway, this guy that tried to jump off the bridge came in and tried to cut his wrist or whatever in the room they put him in. He didn't succeed. And anyway, the new nurse, well, not new, but she was new for there, she was shouting, "Security, security!" And the other nurse said, "Jim doesn't come on for another hour." And it's things like that. Anyway, the cascade alert system worked well, but it's kind of funny. The two directors the director of security that I worked for, he was retired military. He was an officer. He'd been in the military police and whatever. And he also traveled around, and the hospital would pay for him to go 1 or 2 places, you know, provided they approved, you know, for him for training or going and making speeches, you know, there. And then he paid for his own, just to, you know, because his wife had a good paying. She made more than he was making as a security director. But he, what was it? Oh, out in Denver. Out in Denver, they had a system that they'd set up out there, a cascade alert system, you know. Each hospital calls 2 other hospitals, that type of stuff. They had a better program because out in Denver, it was, which is the way it should be, really. I think, I'm not sure exactly on this, but all the hospitals out there, you know, their security was like pooled. So, and that was an ideal system. I mean, we never got that. It was every hospital on their own, you know. But anyway, I think I'm going to be interrupted. So, well, what did I want to tell you? I can't remember. I'll be talking to you later.